Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. I'm Lex, and with me today is, well, my colleague here at Shield Media.
Hi, everyone. I'm Vera.
And we're both super excited to, well, really dive deep into this topic that, honestly, it's been making waves in the digital marketing world.
It really has, hasn't it? We're talking about Google AI overviews or AIOs.
Yeah, AIOs, you'll hear them called both, so, don't get confused or anything.
Exactly.
But really, what we're going to be focusing on is what their arrival in the UK, because that's a new thing,
Yeah.
means for SEO strategies, especially if you're,
Yeah.
a business owner, a C-level exec, someone who needs to stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for. And if you're finding this deep dive valuable, don't forget to hit that follow button and share this episode with, well, anyone in your network who might benefit. We'd love to have them along for the ride.
Absolutely. Share the knowledge. All right, so let's get down to it. Vera, can you kind of give us a quick rundown of what Google AI overviews actually are?
Sure. So imagine you're on Google, you type in a question, and boom, right there at the top of the page, you see a concise summary that basically answers your question.
Okay.
That's an AIO.
So it's like Google's trying to be not just a search engine, but the answer engine.
Exactly. And it gets even more interesting because these AIOs cite their sources so you can see exactly where the information is coming from and even click to jump right to that spot.
That's pretty neat. So that's the how. But the big question is, are these AIOs, are they good or bad for SEO?
Well, to answer that, we gotta look at some research. So our friends over at Browser Media did this really cool deep dive where they manually analyzed like 50 search queries.
Wow, manually, that's commitment.
Right. Across all sorts of areas.
Mm,
Food, travel, health, finance, you name it.
the whole shebang.
Exactly. They really wanted to see how often these AI overviews were popping up, what searches were triggering them, and most importantly, if the information was accurate and, relevant.
Okay, so what did they find? Give us the good stuff.
One of the most interesting things they found was that if you include words like top or best in your search, you're actually less likely to trigger an AIO. Seems like Google's algorithms are picking up on the fact that those types of searches, they're more about opinions and preferences.
Right, rather than hard facts. So it's
Exactly.
not just about keywords anymore. Google's trying to understand what you actually mean.
Exactly, the intent. And on the other hand, they found how-to topics. Those were super likely to trigger AI overviews, especially for things like, home and garden stuff, crafts, health and fitness.
Makes sense. People want those quick answers.
Yeah, and this could be a bit of a worry for websites that have been doing really well with those how-to articles because now people might get their answers straight from Google.
Right, without even clicking through. Why bother if Google's giving you the answer right there?
Exactly. And that brings us to another big question. How accurate, how much can we trust the information in these
Yeah,
AIOs?
is it all legit?
Well, browser media found that it's gotten much better since the early days, but there are still some hiccups.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Well, sometimes, they found the AIO would cite sources that are like product pages, even when you're just looking for general information.
Oh, so like instead of telling me how to fix a leaky faucet, it's recommending me a wrench set.
Yeah, something like that. And sometimes the source cited is just, well, barely related to the search.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like in one example, the search was choking in dogs, and one of the sources was about the color of dog vomit.
Okay, well, related, but not helpful in that moment.
Not really, no. And then there's the issue of, is the source actually trustworthy?
Right. Are we talking WebMD versus like my cousin's blog?
Yeah, exactly. Especially for health stuff, they noticed the AIO wasn't always pulling from the most reputable sources, even when those were ranking well in the normal search results. They were pulling from, like, fitness blogs instead of, say, the NHS.
So not all sources are created equal, and Google's AI is still learning that nuance, it seems.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, there's always the risk of outdated information.
Oh, like that thing that was going around about cleaning vinyl records with sandpaper?
So you know about that one.
Oh, yeah, that was everywhere.
Oh.
Disaster waiting to happen.
Right. And they even found one suggesting gasoline to kill wasps, citing a source that, well, wasn't exactly reliable.
Okay, that's less funny and more. Yikes.
Yeah.
Definitely crossing a line. So yeah, AI overviews, they have potential, but they're still a work in progress.
Definitely something to keep a close eye on, especially if your business relies on Google. to get those leads.
Absolutely. And speaking of adapting, well, Lex, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about how Shield Media can help them navigate all this AI stuff?
Sure thing. So at Chill Media, we're all about helping businesses like yours, especially those in Western markets, really dominate the digital space. Local SEO, PPC, social media, you name it. And we're obsessed with keeping up with the latest, like these AI overviews, so you don't have to. We know it can be overwhelming trying to stay on top of everything. Let us handle that so you can focus on what you do best, running your business.
Exactly. Now, before we, jump too far ahead, let's go back to that browser media research for a sec. They actually compared their findings to another study, right? By SEO Clarity.
Yeah, SEO Clarity looked at a much bigger chunk of data, tens of thousands of keywords, and the crazy thing is their findings pretty much lined up with browser media's.
So even with different keywords, they're seeing the same trends with these AIOs.
Exactly. Gives us even more confidence that this is real and, businesses need to pay attention.
Okay, so let's talk about those key takeaways. What did both studies tell us about how these AIOs are changing the SEO game?
Well, first thing is, if you're already ranking well in the normal search results, you're much more likely to get cited in an AIO. So that good SEO you've been doing, still super important.
So it's not like AIOs are going to magically boost a website that's, not optimized.
Exactly. Think of AIOs as a bonus, not a replacement for doing SEO right.
Got it. What else did they find?
Well, for the most part, the information in the AIOs was accurate, which is good. But remember those examples we talked about.
Right, the dog vomit and the sandpaper.
Exactly. There's still room for error, for bias, for outdated info.
So businesses really need to be on top of what's being said about them, about their industry, in these AIOs.
Absolutely. You don't want some false info spreading about your company, and that's where, Shield Media can really help. We're always monitoring what's being said online about our clients, making sure it's accurate and, positive.
Now, what about businesses that aren't on, page one for those big keywords? Do they have a shot with these AIOs?
Both studies suggest that smaller websites or those targeting really specific niche keywords, they might actually have an edge.
So it's not just the big guys winning.
Not necessarily. If they've got content that's super relevant to a specific question, even if they're not ranking super high overall, they could still get cited in an AIO.
Interesting. But even if they get cited, there's no guarantee people will actually click through to their website, right?
Right.
If the AIO answers their question, why bother?
That's true, and that's a key takeaway. AIOs could actually lead to less traffic for some websites, especially those that were ranking really high before.
So the double-edged sword. More visibility, potentially less traffic.
Exactly, and that's why a good digital marketing strategy needs to consider all of this.
Right. You need to think about how your content works with the AIOs, how to optimize for both, how to use things like PPC and social media to, drive traffic in this new landscape.
Exactly. It's about adapting and using all the tools at your disposal.
And if that sounds overwhelming, well, that's where Shield Media comes in. We're experts at navigating all this, and we're passionate about helping businesses succeed.
Exactly. We're in this together. So, Lex, we've talked about the impact, the potential impact, but what can businesses actually do? Like, how do they adapt and actually thrive with these AI overviews out there?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? What are some, actionable steps our listeners can take?
Well, first and foremost, SEO, the fundamentals, they're still crucial. Those websites that are ranking well organically, those are the ones that are most likely to get featured in the AI overviews.
Right, so good SEO isn't going out of style.
Nope, not at all. Make sure your website is technically sound, the content is top-notch, relevant, and you've got those backlinks built up.
Okay, so the basics still matter. But what about specifically for AI overviews? Is it all about, hitting the right keywords still?
Keywords are definitely still part of it, but you got to think about how your content is structured. Google's AI needs to understand it, digest it easily.
Okay, so it's got to be AI friendly too.
Exactly. Think clear headings, bullet points, keep it concise, make sure the information flows logically. Remember, Google wants to give users the most relevant info fast.
So no more keyword stuffing. It's all about writing for both humans and the machines now.
Yeah, exactly. And don't forget about citations. If your content is well-researched, backed up by credible sources, Google sees that as trustworthy.
So citations are like, hey, Google, this info's legit.
Exactly. Now let's talk about the thing everyone's worried about, traffic. Will these AI overviews, steal all the website traffic? What do you think, Lex?
It's a valid concern, Vera, and honestly, we have to keep an eye on it as AIOs become more common. But, AIOs They give you the summary, but not always the full picture. They can't capture the nuance of a well-written article, right?
So you're saying there's still room for that in-depth content?
Absolutely. I
Oh,
think this actually gives businesses a chance to create content that works with the AIOs. Give people a reason to want to click through and read more.
I like that. Can you give us some examples?
Sure. Say an AIO defines a term. Your website could then provide a deeper explanation, real-world examples, case studies, stuff like that. Or if it lists tips, your site can analyze each tip, give actionable advice on how to use them.
So it's about being the go-to source for people who want more than just the basics.
Exactly. Plus, you can use your content to address any, inaccuracies or biases that might pop up in an AIO about your industry, your brand. Set the record straight.
That's a great point. Now, another strategy. Target those long-tail keywords, the niche stuff.
So instead of fighting for those big, broad keywords, get specific.
Right. Think about those questions your ideal customer is asking. They might not be big enough to trigger an AIO, but they're important for that customer.
And you might actually get better quality traffic that way.
Exactly. Find those sweet spots where you can really stand out.
Now, what about paid advertising? Does this change the game for PPC?
It definitely adds another layer, that's for sure. With less space at the top of the search results for organic stuff, those paid ads, they become even more important.
So if you're already doing PPC, you might need to, up your budget, really refine your targeting.
Definitely. But it also gives you a chance to get creative with ad formats. Think beyond just the basic text ad, images, videos, even interactive stuff.
And with AI getting better at targeting, you can really make sure your ads are hitting the right people at the right time.
Exactly. So even with these AI overviews, paid advertising is still a powerful tool. Adapt, embrace the new tech, and you'll be good.
And if it all feels a bit too much, well, that's where Shield Media comes in. We can help you figure it out step by step.
We're all about helping businesses like yours succeed.
Speaking of succeeding, let's zoom out even further. Talk about AI's impact on digital marketing as a whole.
Now we're talking. Let's dive into the future.
So Vera, we've covered AI overviews pretty in depth, but let's zoom out a bit. Where do you see AI going in the whole digital marketing world?
Ooh, that's the exciting part, right? I mean, it's already changing how we do, well, everything. Keyword research, personalizing content, even optimizing entire campaigns.
It is pretty wild how fast it's all happening.
It is. It is. And these tools, they can really make our lives easier as marketers. But I do sometimes wonder about, what happens to the human touch.
Yeah, where does the human element fit in down the line?
I think that's a key thing to remember. AI, it's a tool, a super powerful one, but still just a tool. Like any tool, it can be used well, it can be used poorly, ethically, unethically.
Right, we have to be the ones making the decisions, making sure it's being used for good.
Exactly. It's about recognizing its limits, its potential biases, not letting the tech, get ahead of our own judgment.
So not replacing marketers, but changing how we work. Almost like a collaboration.
Exactly. Let AI do the heavy lifting, the data crunching, the repetitive stuff. That frees us up to focus on what AI can't do, the strategy, the creativity, that real human connection with customers.
Because at the end of the day, people want to connect with people, not robots.
Exactly. So what about you, Lex? What about AI in marketing gets you most excited looking ahead?
I'd have to say the personalization aspect, I think. AI can analyze tons of data about each user, so we can really tailor their experience in a way that just wasn't possible before.
So instead of seeing those same generic ads, it's like getting content picked just for you.
Yeah, like the brand knows what you need before you even do. If it's done right, that is.
That's the goal, right? The right message to the right person at the right time on the right platform. AI is making that level of, precision more and more achievable. And happy customers, well, they usually mean a happy business.
For sure.
Mm.
Any other AI advancements you're, keeping a close eye on?
Content creation, that's another area where I think things are going to get really interesting. Imagine AI helping writers with, writer's block, coming up with fresh ideas, even optimizing content for different audiences all at once.
That would be pretty amazing.
Right. It's early days, but the potential is huge.
I do kind of worry about, losing that human voice in the writing, though.
I get that. But I think it's about seeing AI as a partner in the creative process, not a replacement. It can help us do what we do even better, reach more people.
So a tool to amplify, not erase.
Exactly. But we can't just ignore the potential downsides, right?
Yeah.
Bias in data, ethical concerns, those are real things we got to be mindful of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about the AI overviews.
Mm-hmm.
Got to double check the information, not blindly trust any tool.
Right. Critical thinking is more important than ever. We can't just let the tech run wild, you
Yeah.
know? We have to stay informed, ask the right questions, make sure it's being used ethically in marketing and everywhere else.
Couldn't agree more. So any final advice for our listeners, especially those business owners and C-level execs trying to get ready for this AI-driven future?
Don't be afraid of it. Embrace the change. Be
Yeah.
curious, learn new things, experiment. Don't be afraid to fail a little along the way. AI is here to stay, and those who adapt, who integrate thoughtfully, they're going to be the ones who succeed.
So true. And, if you need a hand navigating all this, that's what Shield Media is here for. We're experts in this stuff, especially for those businesses in Western markets.
Local SEO, PPC campaigns, social media, making sure your brand is, front and center in this AI world, we've got you covered.
That's right. Don't get left behind in the AI revolution. Reach out to Shield Media. Let's conquer this digital world together.
And thanks for joining us for the deep dive today. We hope you learned a thing or two about Google AI overviews, about the future of AI in marketing.
Don't forget to hit that follow button and share this episode with anyone who needs to hear this. Until next time, stay curious and keep on diving deep into the world of digital marketing.